can even press start streaming now and then press OK when you're. Oh, that's going to start. Hit the logo on the screen as well as on Twitter at 21CT Inc. Really talk about this movement and this. I don't want to say it's intersecting necessarily, but we can kind of debate that. But it's definitely moving in parallel lines that are getting closer to one another. So the first one we want to talk about was actually released this past week, and it was 10 key findings from the HHS's latest data breach report. HHS is Health and Human Services, the federal. They have to put out and report to Congress every year, right? So this was not, in a lot of cases, and you read a lot of these cases, and there's a lot of articles out there. The guy leaving his laptop, the guy like whatever. This was concerned, and to do theft, there is some sort of intent involved, and we're going to get to a good case of that next. But the fact is, people are going out and getting this information because they want it. And why do you steal? Because it's profitable, right? I mean,
for fun and profit,
right? For fun and profit. So it is something to do. So let's talk about it. So I'd encourage people to look at the 10 key findings, but let's look at the next one. That we have.
Oh, can I tell you one more thing that was interesting?
Yes.
Of the breaches, 98% were accounted for by less.
Right, exactly. They can't. They don't know how to use YouTube.
Well, right. They would.
All right. This isn't. We'll talk about college football in the fall. We'll do a college football analytics one. But anyhow, the thing that I thought was really interesting here was, again, they took SSNs, they took date of birth, they took all that stuff. A 3-day attack. This was a concerted effort. Someone said, I want this information. I know I can get it. They went out and got it.
Right.
So that goes back to the theft kind of point.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me was that, it's coming from China, right? Which given...
The IP addresses were coming from China.
Well, okay, fair enough.
We know enough to know that.
Well, fair enough. But given the Mandiant APT report back in the day, we know, certainly China's sort of the central figure in a lot of this sort of activity. Right. The interesting thing to me is, I mean, of all places you would try to attack from China, a small hospital network in the middle of nowhere, Texas. No offense.
Right.
Offense totally intended, actually. It's just interesting that given all the potential targets, that would be the one that they choose.
Well, but it goes back again to the first article of why are they going after the small, for lack of a better word, mom and pop healthcare systems and not the big players, because they're weak, right? They aren't looking at data protection as much as they should, or they're not being forced to do it by compliance overall. And so people are going to continue to do this. And the frustrating thing about all this is it doesn't matter because some of our data is in all of these systems, right? And we're going to be talking about that as well in a little bit. But the fact is, like, who knows? Maybe I visited this place once because,
you're driving through.
I was driving through as quickly as possible.
You broke down.
So
because you always break down in the middle of nowhere.
I don't know anything about this. I have no dog in this fight. So.
All right. So what is
Hamilton at 20.
Okay. So for you in this one, what is the most surprising fact? And I'm setting you up for you to ask me the same question.
Yeah. So I think it was that it was a 3-day attack. So, and we know from backgrounds in network security, like a 3-day attack, you can do a lot of damage in 3 days, right? You can do a lot of damage in an hour, right? 3 minutes. But they were in there for 3 days grabbing as much as they could, and nobody saw them. And they still don't know who it is, right? So that was the first thing, that this is concentrated. The second thing is, and this goes to all of this stuff, these are the reported attacks.
Right.
There's twice as many unreported. So, oh no, I've never been to that hospittal. Mine hasn't been. It has. Your data has been, taken at some point.
Yeah. So for me, getting to the 3-day attack piece, it brings me back to the Verizon report that comes.
So why? Why are people doing this? And it's identity theft in a lot of instances, right? And so this article talks a lot about, if I have Mike's social security number, I have your date of birth, I have your medical records, I have history, I have family, I have claims, I have all of this information, I can easily then take your credit card, open up new credit cards, do whatever I want with your identity and seem like I might handle it, or sell it. And that's a lot of what's happening, and it's something that you and I have been looking at, as well, in terms of not only healthcare but human trafficking. And this selling of all of these kind of identities.
Yeah, I mean it's just crazy the kinds of things you can do with a social security number.
Right.
And for me, if it were me, then I had a big old list of social security numbers and fake identities, I'm selling them. Because this guy goes and withdraws a bunch of money,
Right.
and there's all of a sudden a paper trail, whereas I get a cash payment for a bunch of identities. Let everybody else do the crime. I'll take
Right.
I'll take the 10% off the top. That's how I would do it.
Right.
Not that I've ever done that before.
Wow, this took quite a turn from detecting fraud to sitting next to fraud. But yeah, I think it's
Well, you
know,
could argue I'm a fraud, but not that I
right,
commit fraud.
Exactly. So they talk about synthetic ID theft in here. I thought that was an interesting term, and the fact that none of these figures are overinflated, all of them are underinflated. And you know, it's what we talked about of your data has been taken. It's now up to you to make sure that it's not being used in an inappropriate way. And then the final thing, and it's kind of the irony of all of it, is that I was talking to these guys recently. So my healthcare provider recently went to this entire new kind of online system called MyChart by this company called Epic. That's the name of the company. It's Epic. No offense to those people. Probably Aggies. Did that work? I don't know if that was funny or not. No? All right. Bates College Bobcats, folks. All right. So, but, you know, so here I sit talking about this, the data's being stolen, how dangerous it is, all of this stuff. Everything I have now is on a mobile app. Right now? So I've now increased my threat landscape by an enormous amount by this company that if you go to their website, I now do not trust with any of my information. Security is not mentioned at all, and it's completely scary, but I'm still going to use it because I really don't want to call and make an appointment, and I want to see my test results super secure. So I'm interested to see what happens there because I was impressed that they at least have that. But
yeah, no, I will say the one thing, you know, I mock the security of this, but given that I've got many friends and a spouse in the medical profession, this is a far better solution than what exists or what previously existed, which is doctors texting each other, hey, I'm coming off call, I'm texting you on my phone, which, okay, text
or better.
Text is one thing.
Pagers.
Well, okay, well, text is one thing, but now what happens when they're all on iPhones, and now they're on iMessage,
Right.
and so now your HIPAA data is actually in going through Apple's data centers over iMessage. That's a whole nother...
And that actually is, I have a fantastic story about iMessage and their lack of security that happened to me overnight, but we'll save that for another.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's called foreshadowing.
Hashtag teaser.
So our person of the week, I don't know, we haven't come up with a, like, we were doing investigator of the week, but that doesn't work for
everyone.
everyone.
Then it was analyst of the week.
Analyst of the week, that doesn't work, and then it's like, but it doesn't have to be Twitter. I mean, it could be anything.
Social media personality of the week?
No, because I don't even want to do that. I mean, it could just be someone we talk about overall. So we got to come up with something. So, crush of the week?
The Take a Look Live Idol of the week?
That seems odd.
For Idol of the week?
Chilled.
I'm guessing you're ignoring me because you just...
No, there's so many people here, and it's hard to focus.
It is a little hard to focus.
This might be a record. Biggest group. Right? I think.
Yeah. Oh, we got a round of applause.
So good. All right, so whatever this is, we'll come up with a cool name. So Healthcare InfoSec, or at Health InfoSec. Healthcare InfoSec is a publication, and it's probably the only one that is actually talking about these two topics together and this pending intersection between healthcare data breaches, healthcare and medical fraud, and network security. And so I know Marianne McGee there and some of the writers over there, but their site will give you all of this information. It's someone to follow if you care about this, but they're also very practical in what you can do to protect your own information, right? And we all talk about it. We all talk about the daily hygiene that we have to do in terms of protecting our information, but it's serious and you got to pay attention to it. They give you some good tips overall for how to do that. So, Health Info Sec. I'm Kyle Flaherty.
I'm Mike Hamilton.
Oh, and I'm putting it out there. We got a new blue screen, so you're going to see new backgrounds over the next few weeks. But if you want to take this, you can download this video, add any background that you want, and submit it to us. You can just